a murder mystery emerges in the woods. 3 people are dead. Police are now on a manhunt for the killer, and they are searching across Florida. In a house in Chuliota, police discovered a family murdered. A couple in their 50s and their son in his 30s were found dead. And now, this just in, the prime suspect is a family member, Grant Amato. Officials say he is armed and dangerous.
Tell us what happened, Grant.
I didn't do any of this.
Do you not feel bad for doing this to your family?
I don't know.
Do you know, I don't remember the name, his face. This is a new case for me.
Yeah. So I wanted to play that clip and we're going to play some more clips of him, but this is probably going to be the most unusual motive you're going to encounter in case. And we're going to have to get technical. And with watching the whole iPhone situation before we got started, guys, I mean, doesn't build, confidence here, but I'm going to try to explain the best I can. And we have an audience. This is the first time we've ever had an audience.
Yes.
Best friend
Welcome.
Susan is here.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
But we got,
Elena.
Mom.
and then of course, I'm Sherry, and this is Outline of a Murder, but once again, I've not been ready with the mom saying. All right, here we go. Mom is so clever that sometimes she doesn't even know a single word of what she's saying. That's how clever she is.
That is spot on.
Right there.
Oh, wow.
Every episode, this is what they do.
Spot
It's
on.
always a mom. I want to do a daughter one.
No, you're good. Okay,
no.
so
Our drinks bartenders, we now have Elena rejoining us for this episode, and she has made us some goodness. So please describe.
yes, so we have Prosecco with apple cider and cinnamon stick. This is a redo, a fall
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
cocktail redo.
Yeah, because the champagne was a little bit bitter, I think,
Yeah,
the first
it was.
one. So
It was
she's
good.
remade this for us. All right, it's time for the taste test.
Okay.
Oh,
That was pretty good.
okay.
I like it.
The
Thank you,
cinnamon stick is
sister.
a little large.
Yeah, I almost swallow mine each time, but
You almost swallow it.
no, it's good. I'm going to have to say a 4.5. Yeah.
Me too. What's the one I gave a 5 to?
You didn't.
I thought I did.
I thought you did too.
I did. The one. The spritz.
Yeah, you gave a 5
Oh.
to the spritz.
Spritz was a 5.
I thought it was 4.5.
No, mine was 4.75.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
really good though.
It
Aperol
is
spritz.
good.
I like this
It
one.
is good. I like it a
Oh,
lot.
did we vote? Did we give numbers?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Where were you?
Well, I didn't get to give mine.
Well,
Well, you made it. Well, go ahead.
Well, no.
I give numbers too, Mom.
I give one.
Sorry. I mean, Sherry gave hers, so we're done.
What's your number?
4.
No, it's a good one. I like that. This is going to be one I finish.
Me too. I finished one.
Are you going to
The
be
spritz.
okay with the size of the cinnamon stick? You're
I-
being a little Okay.
Look at this. It looks like it's a cigar.
Well, it's all I had, Mom.
All right.
It's good. It's
Thanks,
good.
Sherry.
All right. Okay, so like I said,
That's good. I might need another one.
Do you need a 5? Do you need to redo your number?
No.
Okay.
all right, so while y'all are passing the drink to best friend Susan, I first saw this case on Signs of a Psychopath. And it is a really, really good series. There's, I think, only 2 seasons maybe, but it goes into like the interviewing of the psychopath. And the first season, I kept getting irritated with the investigators because, like, for example, women especially, you would have this psychopath in front of you that killed an entire family
Right.
or whatever, right? And they're like, well, don't you feel bad for what you did? And so the, psychopath would be like, no.
Because they don't feel.
Right. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you asking that question that is a stupid question to ask a psychopath. Of course they don't. That Levi guy that killed over in, was it Plainview or Plano, Texas, and killed
Grandview or Plano.
Yeah, killed the everybody and thought he got the little girl, but she played dead, and he's on death row. And they asked him, do you feel bad for what you did? And he was very honest. He said, no. He said, the only thing I kind of feel bad about is the little girl. I ruined her life, but other than that, no. I mean, he was like, so honest in that he absolutely feels nothing. So it's a really interesting series. So with this one, this guy, Grant Amato, there were definitely some red flags with him. And also, it's kind of a little bit of a different twist. Normally we're doing like intimate partner homicide or domestic abuse, things like that. This is actually, to me, a great example of a family unit that may have someone that's dangerous inside of it, and to look for red flags. And I mean, personally, I think they could have done maybe a couple things differently, actually, but I don't think they could have done much different. I think either way, he was probably going to get rid of them. So the family, they seem like a typical modern American family, middle class. They have, of course, the good and the bad stuff that you might see, but there wasn't any abuse. There was no violence. There was nothing to contribute to, this kid being messed up. It was just a normal family. And so this is Chad, the dad, and then this is Margaret, and they lived in Chula Oda, Florida, in a nice neighborhood with their two boys. So you've got, I believe this is Cody over here, and this is Grant. That's Jason. So he was from a different marriage, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I thought it was her first marriage. I think I have it sometime in there. Yeah, it was her son from a previous relationship, which he looks like her.
Right.
And then Chad adopted him at the age of 3, but he didn't live with them at the time of the crime. He lived in Winter Springs, Florida.
The father?
No, Jason, the oldest. So at the time, it was just Cody and Grant that lived with the parents.
Okay.
Now, at the time of the murder, Margaret was 61, and she was a mortgage loan underwriter, and then Chad was 59. I had a rough time finding when they got married. I know it was in the 80s because Grant was born in 87, or Cody was born in 87, and Grant was born in 89. So they were obviously together, but I'm not sure how long, and it was really hard to get some background information about them. And I think this is closer, they were teenagers. And let me see if I have any other
That's the father, and those are the
pictures.
two kids.
No,
They're grown.
that's it as far as the family. Yeah, so they're teenagers there. And Chad and Margaret were really hard workers. So, she's the loan underwriter, and he's a pharmacist at CVS Health. And he loved computers. He called himself a self-taught computer guru. And let's see. Oh, that was when they got married that she was a loan underwriter. At the time of the murders, she was a senior operations manager at Nuance Transportation Services. And their home was spacious. It was a 4-bedroom, 2.9 acre property. It sounded like it was a really neat place to live, that little community. It was like 25 miles east of Orlando, so they have, access to, the larger city and fun things to do. And it was very rural, though. Only had 2,483 residents.
That's pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you say he did?
He was a pharmacist at CVS.
Pharmacist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they did pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Where they lived was settled shortly after the Civil War. Now, the couple, Chad and Margaret, had just bought a house in Tennessee. And they were getting close to retirement, and they wanted to live out there, which I wouldn't mind living in Tennessee. I think it's a pretty neat state.
Mm-hmm.
The entire family loved football, and they were all huge Florida Gators fans. Now, Margaret, she loved horses. She rescued a neglected ex-racehorse in 2009 named Lady.
Aww.
And she adored her. And then once Lady died, Margaret would continue going to the stables. It was the Miracle Lane stables, and she would just help out because she loved horses so much and being around the animals. And everybody said she was a very kind and caring person. And Cody and Grant, the two brothers, were very close. They weren't just brothers, they were best friends. They did everything together. They both went to Timber Creek High School. They both joined the weightlifting team because they loved health and fitness. And then after they graduated, they attended the University of Central Florida's nursing school together with the goal to attend anesthesiology school.
How far apart were they?
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real close family.
Yeah, they would be really close. They both dreamed of owning matching BMWs. And then their plans were to live in the home in Florida after their parents retired. And then they would, of course, take the one that was in Tennessee. So, I mean, it just sounds like a really neat family. They
Normal.
Normal. They had their plans for the future. Everybody was excited. And Cody, the older, graduated from the school, but Grant dropped out after failing the course. So this is the first maybe deviation from the perfect family as he begins to have problems. And so...
Why did he drop out of school?
Because he failed.
I know, but there wasn't anything going on in his life?
I don't know. I just know at this point he
dropped out.
Yeah. And he also began working at Advent Health Orlando as a nurse because he had his nursing degree. He just wanted to be an anesthesiologist nurse, and so he failed that. But Cody continued to excel. He basically started living the life that they had both talked about living. Now, Grant's hidden struggles began surfacing in June of 2018 when he was fired from his nursing job for stealing an anesthetic drug called propofol.
Oh, no.
Or propofol. Propofol. I'm not sure how you say it. But anyway, it was basically to put people to sleep. It's the same drug that Michael Jackson used and that killed him.
That killed him?
Mm-hmm. And I think, didn't Michael Jackson use it to go to sleep? Like he couldn't sleep. And I think that his doctor would give him that injection or whatever, and he would go to sleep.
So if he was stealing it, he was on drugs.
I think so.
Or putting people to sleep for other things.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if if there's any evidence that he tried to kill any of the patients or anything like that.
I meant other stuff.
Yeah.
So what they did is they found 2 empty bottles in patients' rooms that he was overseeing, and the doctors had not ordered. So he was doing something with them, either injecting himself, which you think it would have immediately put him to sleep.
Maybe the patients.
Let me see if I have it in my notes.
You just leave it there, 2 bottles?
Okay, so here's what I wrote down. Let's see. So they found the bottles. He was arrested and charged with grand theft, along with improperly administering medications to patients. So he claimed that he, quote, administered the drug to patients because they were not adequately relaxed.
So either he was trying to kill them or do something to them.
Or he thought they needed to go to sleep. Maybe he needed because he didn't want to work.
Or maybe it's just the beginning.
Well, I'm going for more evil.
To try to see how much it would take, what it would do. And then it just escalated.
Now, after he was fired, he isolated himself. He was depressed. He spent hours in his room on his computer, and then he'd sleep all day. His weight plummeted, which let me show you. So here he is here, but when you look at that, so that's his brother. They're already naturally thin, and then you see him right there. There's another one that, let's see.
First thing I would think is drugs.
Yeah, I would have thought drugs too. Here's the best example. So this was right before the murders. Look at how skinny he is.
Look at the bones. Yeah.
Yeah, so something's going on. Now, whether he's doing drugs or not, I'm not sure. I couldn't find any evidence of that. But he's definitely addicted to the computer.
Yeah.
And so his skin paled. He had dark circles under his eyes. His family, they were worried about him. And Cody also, and he shared his concerns about him with his coworkers, the family had no idea what he was really doing all night. He told them that he was trying to be a streamer on Twitch, which is an American video live streaming service that focuses on video game live streaming, including broadcasts of like esport competitions, music broadcasts, creative content, and then real live streams. But what he was actually doing was paying for porn.
Oh.
Grant discovered a social platform that let people pay for sexual photos and videos, and he became obsessed with a webcam model. Now, have y'all heard of those?
I haven't. No, I don't know what they are.
Okay, so let me get the picture of the model. So basically, a webcam model is a real life person that performs before his or her camera for different purposes. This purpose was obviously porn, and the cam's model, her screen name was Sylvie, and her real name was Sylvia, and I can't even pronounce the last name. She was from Bulgaria. So what he would do is he would buy tokens for $600 for 90 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And in just 3 months, how much money do you think he spent?
$18,000.
He isn't working, though, is he?
How much money do you think he spent?
At least 20, 25?
$200,000.
In 3 months?
Oh my gosh! You could
Where's
buy
he
a
getting
house.
the money?
Well, he got it from his dad, his mom, his brother, his aunt by stealing it, using their credit cards, stealing money from them when they were at home. And so he not only was purchasing the tokens, he was also sending her gifts.
Wow.
And he lied and said that, and it sounds like this. Initially, he approached his parents for money because he said he wanted to promote himself for his Twitch business. So they give him some money, but the other he just was stealing from people. And his aunt, in fact...
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, $200,000 in 3 months. Does anybody have, like on their phone, can they... So if you've got $200,000 divided by 600, how many tokens at a time, like how many did he buy in 3 months?
Oh, one of my favorite numbers. 333.33.
Wow. So 333 porn 90-minute sessions in 3 months.
Wow.
30,000. Is that 30,000 minutes?
Yeah, and then if you have 333, so that means
Divided into-
in 3 months, you have about 90 days. So this was several times a day that he was doing this.
Wow.
And his aunt wanted to file charges against him because after Grant had visited her house, she noticed weird charges on her card. But his dad went and visited with her and talked her out of it.
No.
But, and it was all on this girl?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the poop hit the fan when Chad, Grant's father, found out what was really going on. Because I'm sure he saw some weird charges.
Oh, yeah.
But also the aunt, his sister, is upset. So the family rallies around him. They take out a second mortgage to pay for the debt. And
Which they were responsible for.
his legal expenses at the former place of his employment. So remember.
Don't forget.
I don't know.
Don't forget that he already had that problem. Now he's got this one. And later they did drop the employment charges. They dropped
The
those.
theft.
But the dad never reported the stolen money because he didn't want his son to get in more trouble.
No.
Wow. I would have probably reported him.
Absolutely. That's enabling and
And again, you've got a child situation. And so you have, he's very close to his brother. And it's hard, what I find, and I have to tell my clients this when I do mentoring, a lot of times they will have an idea of who a person was before everything went south. And I tell them, you're trying to interact with who that person was 10 years ago.
Not who he is now.
They're no longer that person. And so your responsibility is not to try to make them be that person again. Your responsibility is to assess the situation and make sure that you're not in danger, number one. What are you willing to do if that person never changes? So what will your life look like? If it looks like you're fine staying with that person or having a relationship with that person, that's fine. If that's, you're okay. Other people, they would rather die than do that. So
Right.
it's like, okay, now you got to take steps to get away. Sometimes the act of taking that action that sounds maybe sometimes unloving can actually be what they need
Right.
to
Yeah.
figure it out. Sometimes they don't. And so in this case, I think they're dealing with their brother that and their son that they've adored, that they've been raised, with their whole life, and they're just thinking that he's going through a rough patch, and probably later he'll figure it all out.
Oh, gotcha.
Sherry,
Still, man.
how old was he when this part started?
I'm not
Do
sure.
you know?
I think he's probably in his 20s at
Early
least.
20s.
Wow.
He had already, had some college and stuff. And Cody, his brother, was even more understanding. In December of the same year, he took Grant and another friend on a trip to Japan, and he paid for all of his expenses, which were $10,000.
Well, they were close.
And so that's what that photo is. They're in
He
Japan.
looked really rough. Oh, okay. Now I understand what he's wearing.
Yeah, so they're in the, what are they called?
Komos?
Komos?
Kimono.
Kimonos. Thank you.
Kimonos. What's that deal with Como? Como?
I said that yesterday. Coma. I said, what did I say?
Yeah.
Como.
Como instead of
She
coma.
said semicolon. I don't even know where that came from.
Not sure.
It was word association. It happens all the time. Y'all don't hear what goes on in my brain.
You don't want to hear what goes on in mine.
But yeah, you probably don't want to hear it. That's what my mind sometimes.
I mean, the bunny trails just never stop.
Now, when Grant returned, he and his dad, Chad, fought. Dad, that cracks me up. But anyway, they fought every single day because Chad wanted him to get a job.
Well, who
And
wouldn't?
Yeah, and he wanted him to pay back what he stole, And so on December 19th, Grant left the house after a really bad argument, and he texted his mother implying he was going to kill himself. So we're seeing the very typical
Yep.
psychopathy. We're seeing the very typical threats of suicide. Like, why can't you get a job? That's a reasonable explanation. You owe the family $200,000.
Huh.
And so I think they were trying to deal with someone that they thought was normal.
And there was
Yeah.
because there was no signs before, and they were
That we
sort
know of.
normal up until that point. I don't know if I would putting a second mortgage on my house to pay for it.
Absolutely
I don't think
not.
I would at
There's
all.
no way.
Daughter, son, I just friend.
No.
No.
I'm
Wait,
sorry.
Excuse me.
Right.
No.
You
Mother?
just paused for your friend,
You said
not
no.
your daughter.
Daughter, nope. Friend.
What the hell is that?
No kidding.
And you want us
I'll
to take
remember
care of
that
you when you're
elderly.
old?
Yeah, that just one more check mark.
Yeah, I
Sherry,
think my
enjoy.
situation has just shifted here.
Enjoy.
Don't take it personal.
No, it's taken personal.
How
so
are we
anyway,
supposed to take it?
she reported him missing, the mother. Told police that he had, quote, strong feelings of unworthiness. And so that was her view of Grant's problems and might have led to some of the decisions that made it worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I want to interject a little bit on, people, they will not try to, but they will sometimes enable behavior.
Oh yeah.
And the mom is a classic example, but I understand why. But the whole idea behind enablement is where you're actually feeding into the destruction of the other individual,
Yes.
but potentially your own. So whether it's, financial or anything, I had another client that her daughter was a B. I mean, and my client's like a sweetheart S personality, so she's trying to kill her with kindness, right? And I looked at her and I said, let me take you into the mind of a D personality real quick, because that's what I am. And I said, so if she is in the state that she's in, every kind act you do for her is just another notch in her belt that she's won.
Right.
And it's funny to her. And she doesn't appreciate it at all. In fact, it will just make her worse because you're like prey to her now. So I explained it's like a cat that catches a mouse. They don't kill them right away. They play with them before they kill them. I said, that's what's happening here. Not saying that her daughter's going to kill her. But I said, so you actually need to stop being nice. You need to stop getting her coffee. You need to stop doing the, warming up her car on winter mornings and all of that stuff. And you need to switch gears, take all the emotion out. And I guarantee you she will straighten up and it'll save your relationship. And that's exactly what she did. And their relationship is solid. So you have to understand that sometimes kindness will actually make things go way beyond your control and blow up in your face.
Yeah, we have a family member, and she's enabled with medication.
Yeah.
And the nicer he is, the worse it gets.
Yep. That's how I was when I was a teenager with my last stepmother. I would manipulate and lie and make her feel bad, and she'd be all nice, and I would literally walk away laughing. Because at that point, I hated her guts.
Well, right. Some think the nicer you are, it's going to fix things, but it's just enabling somebody.
And especially not with people that are psychopathic. They don't care.
They don't think
translate.
like, yeah.
Yeah. So, what happened, instead of him killing himself, he drove to his Aunt Donna's house, which is his dad's sister. I think it's probably the same one. And he slept the whole day and spent the entire night awake. And that's when Donna noticed suspicious charges on her checking account for what's called cam girls.
So hold on. So this is the same aunt that he had already stolen from.
No, I'm wondering if this is an incident where he stole. So I'm wondering if we're kind of going back a little bit, that this is one of those incidents where he disappeared, he threatened to commit suicide, and then he went to her house, and then she noticed the charges, and then his dad went over there and got him out of trouble.
Oh, okay.
So I think we're talking about the same thing.
I really hope not that he stole, the dad got him out of trouble in that situation, stole again, dad got him out of trouble in that situation. No.
Yeah. And Donna, let him know, obviously, what happened. He promised to pay her back on Grant's behalf. Chad then broke down crying.
Yeah.
And told her all that had been going on.
Yeah.
So at this point, they already know about the $200K.
Right.
So Donna later told detectives, he told me on the phone, I'm going to have to work a few more years than I thought I'd have to, but it's okay. I'll do it for Grant. I don't want him to go to jail.
Oh, wow. Maybe jail would have been better off.
Yeah,
made him learn.
You gotta, there's consequences for actions, and when you're an adult.
But sometimes you don't want to see your kids suffer. But go to jail.
If he's a psychopath like doctors think he is, nothing would have helped.
I don't know if they would have thought he was a psychopath at the time, though.
But they shouldn't have taken that on. That's a burden emotionally, financially. Like me, there would be a cutoff for sure.
I think they definitely needed to get him out of the house. Inform all of the relatives and friends and family, don't let him in your house because this is what's going on. And then let him figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so they knew what they had to do. They had to stage an intervention. This is 3 days later, December 22nd. They went to Donna's house because Grant was still there. They told him that he had to get help. They then drove him to a rehab in Fort Lauderdale, where Grant voluntarily enrolled in a 60-day program for sex and porn addiction. He dropped out after 2 weeks on January 4th, 2019, even after his brother Cody had committed to paying $15,000 for the program.
Wow.
They just
he didn't care about anybody.
It's like, stop it, guys! You're not helping, and it's going to kill you. So it's really, really sad. But this, to me, kind of goes back to the idea that people think they can change or help people beyond what they're willing to do. Yeah. And we're definitely in a situation where he was not returning the effort to change, and they needed to recognize that, but they're approaching him like an addict, and they're thinking they're being helpful, but they're not.
You can't make anyone change.
No. I wish they would have changed the logs and refused any contact at that point, but they didn't. And I do know that Cody was concerned for their physical safety as well, which we'll get into. Okay, on January 5th, Chad joined Grant at a pizza joint to talk and have lunch. And he had a list of handwritten rules that Grant had to abide by if he wanted to come back home. He had to get a job. He couldn't spend all night online. They would no longer pay his phone bill, and they had canceled his previous phone plan. He had to pay back the family, and he had to get into therapy. Also, he was not allowed to communicate with Sylvie. If he did, he would be kicked out immediately.
Okay.
Grant did not know that Chad had accessed his computer, contacted Sylvie, and explained that Grant had been lying to her. So the dad contacts this chick. Yeah.
I bet he loses his crap.
And lets her know that he's not well-to-do. He doesn't have a lot of money. He's not who he says he is. He's living in a room in their house, and he's stolen all this money from them.
I bet he was infuriated.
He was. Because he was telling her that he was a wealthy American. So she was no longer interested in talking with him.
Right.
Chad also erased everything off his computer and put a password on it so Grant could not get on it when he came home.
What efforts? I mean, those are good efforts for a child.
So this is a video.
He was older then, though.
That's what I'm saying. I'm kind of being a little facetious.
He was able to get a phone, and this is what he sent Sylvie.
All right, Sylvia, look at me. I'm outside going to check the mail, and I'm asking you if you can please, pretty please, send me one of your videos. I love it so much when you just send them to me. Yeah, I don't like buying your stuff. It makes me feel weird. Could you please send me one, though?
Addict,
Well, at that
for
point,
sure.
he had no money. He's begging her for a video. That's all he's concerned about is the video.
Well, he's an addict.
And notice he said, I feel weird paying for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into that and what doctors think was going on here. On January 25th.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
did she send him one?
No. On January 25th, Cody didn't show up for work, and he didn't answer his phone. His coworkers were concerned because Cody hadn't missed a day of work in 5 years. They called the police for a wellness check at the Amato home. One coworker told dispatch, I am concerned that something has come of harm to my friend. I know that my friend's brother struggles with depression and I believe suicidal as well, and he mentioned it to me and I'm very worried.
Good for her.
Now this is where it changes things for me a little bit. So I understand the family's actions to begin with, but if at any point you have fear of physical harm, that's a game changer. That's where you are radical in how you deal with this and getting the person out of the home.
Well, so the friend only identified that the brother had depression and hurting himself. So maybe the friend.
Well, later the girlfriend testified that the brother also feared for his own family's life.
Oh.
So they knew. And the suicide thing, they might have, not wanted to take it to homicide as well. So they just went to that he's been suicidal and depressed. But the fact that they called the police for a wellness check tells me that they suspected that Grant did something to the family. And I'm thinking maybe they thought homicide, suicide, because if Grant committed suicide,
Wellness
how
check.
would it affect, them and their safety? So I think that they were pretty nervous. I'm glad they called. That's a good, work situation. That's a good friend.
That's a very good friend.
But we've learned with the Jason Bond case and the Robert Birnbaum case, don't be alone with these people.
I know. I was just thinking why they would let him come back.
They did.
If they had any
never-
idea that there was some kind of danger. The
Yeah.
brother
Well, Cody,
did.
yeah.
Cody did.
I bet the parents never even thought. Cody seems to be the one that was really on top of, okay, things are definitely getting a little scary here. I don't know if the mom and dad thought that there was danger to them physically, but they definitely were challenging him to stop.
Well, no parent would think, unless it was really bad behavior, that someone's going to kill anybody.
Did Cody live in the house still?
He did.
Okay.
So all of them lived at the house. If your gut's telling you that you're in danger, you need to follow it. And it doesn't matter who it is. And no amount of rules are going to help someone like Grant Amato. Actually, it infuriates them because if he was the psychopathic personality, that is a personality. And not only that, being limited in what he wants to do will send them into a rage. Now, of course, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
But, that's why we're doing these podcasts, is to dissect these and be smart, be rude, and don't be a victim. That's
Now
just
what-
like a little hint for you
Why
guys.
y'all
For the
Oh,
looking
end.
I'm
at
on
me?
it. I got it.
I'm on it.
I don't need reminders.
It was just pressure. You were staring at me to see if I'd get it right.
Yeah, like the first 3 years I've done. So anyway, so don't feel terrible if you have to do that.
Oh, okay.
No, not you. You may feel rude that you have to cut someone off, but don't ignore the red flags.
Or correct them.
So the Seminole County Deputy Todd Moderson arrived at 9:17 a.m. He tried several times to get the attention of someone inside with no luck. He contacted his supervisor and explained the concern and was given the go-ahead to breach the home. Moderson and another deputy pried open the side door with a knife, and they saw a horrific scene. Lying in the doorway between the home gym and the garage in a semi-fetal position was Cody. He was dressed in his nursing scrubs and had been shot below the eye. A handgun was 5 feet away from his body. Chad, the dad, was lying face up with 2 shots to his head in the kitchen area, and he was wearing a gun holster on one hip with a handgun in it. And then Margaret was found in her office, slumped over her desk with 1 shot to the head.
Back.
Probably the back.
And then, and Grant was nowhere to be found and his phone was disconnected. Now I'm going to show some crime scene photos.
Well, the dad had to know something because he carried a holster and a gun.
I'll get to that. So this is Chad,
Oh, the brother.
and you can see
Oh, he has a.
the holster.
Is that a gun? Oh, yeah. That's him.
And then the dad is right here. And so there's the holster.
And he had one too.
Yeah. And so it had been a bit because you can see that the blood has coagulated and dried.
If you feel you have to have a gun in the house on your body,
Well, that's not what's happening. So I'm going to explain what's
okay.
happening. And then this is the mom slumped over the computer desk, dead. Okay.
I could see where he'd shoot her in the back of the head if he loved his mother. And
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so that's the scene that they came on to. And then I want to show you video of his arrest.
Yeah, it's like all the molding, right?
Okay, so did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
He said he just annihilated or something his entire world, and then one's like he killed his family, and he said
killed
yes.
his whole world, he said.
He killed his whole world. So
Yeah.
they're about to go in to arrest him. So they're like letting them know this guy has killed
Yep.
everybody.
Oh. So. Okay. Where are they at?
A hotel.
Okay.
How'd they know he was at the hotel?
Detectives want to talk to you, so
I mean, I have my like duffel bag and whatnot in there if you guys want to check that.
that'll be up to the detectives to talk to you.
Doesn't he look terrible?
Yeah.
He's like
Lost hair,
Yeah. Yeah.
weight.
He looks really, really bad. So they found him in a hotel at the DoubleTree because a bolo had been sent out for him, and they found his 1996 Honda Accord in the parking lot. So they go in, and sure enough, he's checked in there, And he, what is interesting is, like, you know, he seemed like really calm. Like,
Yeah,
my
he
duffel
did.
bag is in there if y'all
Yeah.
need to check that. He slithers like a worm on the carpet to get more out into the hallway.
So they could arrest him.
And he opened the door and came out.
I think he probably heard the
Yeah.
noise, and he went ahead and came out. So he's not he's a smart person. He just is really jacked in the
No
head.
feelings either.
And nothing. He
Nothing
felt
there.
absolutely
Nothing.
nothing. So they asked him to come to the station for an interview conducted by detectives Daniel Anderson and Eva Marie Multari, which we saw at the beginning of the podcast. Grant was very laid back. He talked about his passion for gaming and live streaming, and then he also complained about his family. So,
But it's always a family.
but here's the thing: does he want to know why they want to talk to him? He doesn't ask that.
No.
He doesn't ask what's going on with his family. He goes straight into what he likes to do, and then complaining about his dead family. So that's interesting. And so they interview him with the crime scene photos, and I think this is next. So let me see if that's the next scene.
And he may have already known, you know, they know. I mean, like,
Well, I
but
think
he has
absolutely they
no
did.
emotion
Well, he
whatsoever.
denied doing anything too, though.
Oh. Was it an accident like the last one?
That was ridiculous.
Does it show? Okay.
Man, look at
He
his
looks awful.
how bad he looks.
I'm here.
Hey, we really appreciate you coming over with us. Why do you think we're having this conversation?
I honestly don't know, but I'm pretty freaked out at this point because, I mean, I know like how the situation was when I left.
I mean, you're a smart guy. You know something's happened at your home. You have law enforcement here. You haven't heard or gotten any
Well, I mean, I'm just scared as to what the answer is.
What the answer is.
Give me a roundabout what you're thinking.
That somebody in my family's dead.
And how does that make you feel if you're thinking that?
I have absolutely no ability to comprehend the words.
Or feel.
He's actually being very concrete. I don't think that he has the ability to experience that empathy. The tone of his voice is strange. It's sort of teletype in tone. It is related to that lack of emotional connectivity, that empathy, that ability to convey emotions to other people and hear emotions from other people. That is a sign of psychopathy in him.
Did you do anything to Cody?
No?
Did you do anything to your mother?
No?
Did you do anything to your father?
No?
Do you have any reason to believe that anybody else would harm them?
No?
Did you leave the house with your brother Cody looking like that? Or did you leave the house with your father looking like that? Or your mother? Is that how you left your family?
No.
Do you see how long he looked at the pictures? First he had his covered eye, and then when he got the pictures of the dead family, he just really
Well,
looking
I
down at
didn't
'em.
notice that he looked at him in depth because he started covering his face, but
Like that.
he went on. So after that, you know, they showed the crime scene photos. He starts getting, you know, like sounds like he's a little bit teary-eyed. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he described his dad as being angry, overbearing, and physically violent toward all of them except Cody when they were younger, which everyone denied that knew the family, including Jason, the older brother. So don't forget him.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's the only survivor.
I only remembered him when I saw the picture of the three boys.
Yeah, and he is right here at the and I think he's already married or that's his girlfriend. So he did admit to spending a lot of time talking to Sylvie. He told detectives that his father hacked into his computer and gained access to personal things related to Sylvie. He was angry that Chad told Sylvie the truth and that his father had been nagging him to get a job. He said with him, it was every single day. He'd come home from work, and then he would just talk to me about the same thing over and over and over again.
You poor thing.
To me, that's the worst thing to do, actually, with someone like him. And it's funny because you're trying to convince people for their own sake, but also for the relationship, please make this change. Well, I have a friend that she had a son living with her, and she would bring up all the time, hey, you're only going to be allowed to live here if you can pay rent. The minute you can't pay rent, you're out of here, or, blah. And she would just remind him of the same things. And I told her, I said, that's not serving any purpose. He knows. You've already told him.
Yep.
The reason you're telling him is you want to feel that you know for sure that you've made yourself clear. You have made yourself clear. So if he gets to that point, then that is his decision. And she was also trying to spark him to action, and it didn't work. And so finally she, told him, you need to leave. And he did. But what stood out to the detectives is after 3 years of being interviewed, Grant did not ask one time what happened to his family. And that's at the point they decided to show him the crime scene photos.
Because they already knew what happened.
3 hours.
Sorry.
3 hours.
So that was 3 hours into the interview at that point. They've been trying to get him to break, and he's not breaking.
He already knew. Why would he break? When you know?
Now, the Moltari, the female detective, she listed all the things that Grant had told them that pointed towards him killing his family, Grant's mental state, his debt, the fights with the father. And she said, who left your family like this? Tell us what happened. We need the truth. You've got to tell the truth. It's on the tip of your tongue, said Anderson, the other detective. And then he repeated he didn't do it. And then they're like, well, who could have done it? He said, I don't know. I've been getting blamed this last half year for everything. And I've been trying to move forward in a positive direction. Every day I'm reminded of all the trouble that I've caused, and I keep being told the same thing over and over again, that there's nothing I can do to change it.
What's interesting, it's like, if you poor thing, then leave the house.
Right. Oh, no, because they were his... That's why I was saying they were enabling him.
No, I totally get all of that, but I'm like, shut up and leave.
Right.
I wonder if the main reason he killed him was over that girl, that woman.
Well, absolutely.
Because that's all he cares about, really.
So... his older brother, Jason, came to speak with him in the interrogation room.
Oh.
And Grant denied that he had done anything, but this is an interesting exchange. I'm not going to play all of it, but I'll play some of it.
Yeah.
They're hugging.
Let me get the volume on.
Gosh, look how bony.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
So, I take it you know what happened. Yeah. I'm going to ask you plain out. You are not part of it anyway. No. When was the last time you saw everybody?
I left the house between midnight and 12:30.
On Thursday night? So Friday morning?
I go to the front.
Why? That's when you went to a hotel?
No. The first night I stayed just in the Publix parking lot by the Tractor Supply.
Okay. And why did you leave, though?
It's because Dad had kicked me out Thursday because I was still talking to the woman that had caused everything, and I was using Mom's cell phone to do that with her knowledge, but not Cody or Dad's. So then Dad found out somehow. And that was one of the things that he had said would lead to my being removed from the premises.
So he forced you, he basically told you had to leave?
Yeah.
Okay. So who could have done this?
I don't
didn't have any problems or troubles with this woman or the online? You didn't owe them any money?
No.
I mean, there's no like loan shark out looking for you or...
No.
I just don't see how things aren't adding up. I'm really confused, Grant. I don't understand. How did you get money to pay for a hotel?
I still had a few $100s on my debit card, and then Cody gave me his debit card.
Okay. And
Aw.
I don't know. I want to believe you, Grant, but you're the last person that I could put in that house. And I know what happened over the last 6 months. I can understand the troubles that you've gone through. But it's hard for me to think that you would break to this point. But who else can I blame? How are we going to find out who did this?
I don't know. I don't have the answers.
So what are your intentions? Do you understand what we have to do now? If you're not the person that did it, we have months of stuff that we have to take care of from our dead parents. Months. You know how much stuff is in that house? We have to go through it all. I have to call people in California to let them know that Margaret Amato is not alive anymore. I gotta call at 3 o'clock in the morning because Cody's 30 years old and has perfectly good organs to donate. And I can't call that shot. He's not an organ donor. I had to say no. So that means there's someone out there that could have used his organs, but we weren't prepared for this. I don't feel comfortable with you being around me.
Okay, so now he's in grief, and his mind is trying to figure out, how am I going to handle all of this? You know,
Yeah.
because his entire family has been annihilated, and he's like, okay, so we've got these properties, I've got to make these decisions. I mean, it was blowing him away, and so it may be a little bit strange that he went to that, but that's where he's at right now. Like, okay, so if you didn't do it, now what we're going to have to do is take care of all of their stuff, make phone calls, all of this. Okay.
See, yeah, I didn't see that way. I saw part of it that way, but I thought he was telling him what he had to do. So
To trigger him to tell the
trigger
truth.
him to tell, so his brother and family wouldn't have to do all that.
Maybe.
But still sympathy, and still it's real. Mm-hmm. But a little of both.
Oh, and you could see he's just trying to figure out how
But I
on
think
earth did this happen.
He's trying to bait him a little bit too.
So
And I don't think his mother knew he was on the phone, and I don't think his brother gave him the
she
debit
did.
card. She did.
She did. She gave him the phone.
I could
the
see
police
that.
later confirmed that. So
I could see that.
okay, and then this is how he finishes.
Mom telling me that. What about
Bless his heart.
I don't know what else to say, but I'm scared for you and I'm scared for myself, and I don't feel comfortable with you being around me alone. I'm sorry. I could take you physically, but if you have a knife or know where a gun is, and I have little girls that I have to raise. I have a woman that is depending on me for the rest of my life.
So they silenced it because he was talking about her name and stuff.
Mm.
I understand.
He hadn't moved, budged, nothing.
No emotion.
It's gonna be so hard for me to figure out what to do with you. You do not deserve jail. But I can't come to fucking have attorney press charges for you to be killed. Grant, I need you to be honest with me, man. I need to have closure. And if it doesn't come from your mouth and I have to hear it from an attorney or a law enforcement or the news, it's going to be harder for me. And I know if you can take Mom and Dad and Cody's life, it's hard for you to comprehend that my emotions are going to be that, but it's unbelievably scary, Grant.
That was smart of him.
That was very smart of him.
And then he also gave him a hug and said that he would pray for him or something. And he actually he went home because they didn't have enough evidence that he did it. So they had to build a case. That's why he was saying, I don't feel safe with you with me.
Oh, he did go home?
Yeah.
What in the world?
So
Why couldn't they charge him with something else? Minor.
They didn't have anything else. So Jason said, I'm going to pray for you, brother, because I can't pray for Mom, Dad, or Cody anymore.
Wow.
So Jason had a solid alibi, obviously. Grant said that he had been home all day getting ready for a job interview, and then his father came home and started an argument and blah, 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 blah. And then his dad also found out that he had convinced his mom to let him contact Sylvie. And that's when Chad was livid and told him to get out. He said that he packed all of his stuff. He left after talking with his dad for another hour in the driveway. He said that Chad gave him a credit card for a hotel.
Do you believe that?
Well, he had lied to his brother then.
And said that Cody gave him his debit card.
And he had one.
He said that Cody came home during this time and Grant briefly spoke with him, said goodbye to his mother, and left. He at first gave an earlier time for leaving, but later changed it to be between 12 and 12:30 a.m. January 25th. And he said his family was alive. He said that when he went to the local Publix grocery store to use the Wi-Fi to get directions for his interview the next day, because he didn't have data for his phone because his dad canceled it,
to call a woman.
that he fell asleep in the car and then he woke up at 6:45 and drove to the interview. Now, among those interviewed was Cody's girlfriend Sloan, and she said that Grant had stolen just $60,000. So out of the $200,000, $60,000 of it came from Cody, and that he also stole his guns so that he could sell them, and that Cody expressed fear that Grant was becoming increasingly unhinged and that he would, quote, kill everyone. So they arrested him the 28th for 3 counts of first-degree murder. He pled not guilty and was held on $750,000 bail. He couldn't use his parents' money per judge's orders and was unable to make bail.
Good.
That's good, though.
So his trial began July 23rd, 2019, and he was looking at the death penalty, because it's Florida.
Yeah. So, yeah.
The assistant state attorney, Stuart Stone, and then Dominic Leo, they led the prosecution. They pointed out that this was a targeted execution. Nothing was taken. There was no forced entry. They believed that Grant Amato spent January 24th at home with his mother, Margaret. Blade testified that the last time there was activity on her computer was 4:44 p.m. With this information, the prosecution deduced that Grant shot Margaret around 4:45 p.m. at her desk. At 5:25 p.m., the health app on Chad Amato's iPhone recorded him taking 67 steps, probably from the car to the house, and then for 27 minutes there was no activity at all on his phone. This indicates to the prosecution that Grant killed his father as soon as he entered the house. The first shot to his head did not kill him. That's why there was blood all over the floor. And so they think that he was dragging himself to a phone and then he was shot in the head a second time. Geraldine Blade testified at 5:52 Chad's iPhone was unlocked and the settings on the phone were changed so that the phone would stay unlocked, and it remained unlocked until after midnight. Grant then waited for Cody to return home from work. He left work around 9:15 p.m. on January 24th, so now hours have passed. Cody barely made it into the house before his brother shot him in the face. Prosecutor Stone said to the jury, "For over 4 hours, with the bodies of his dead mother and father in the house, the defendant waits for Cody to come home. By any definition of the word cold, these murders were cold." A neighbor of the Amatos, Jennifer Sawyer, testified that she heard gunshots between 8:30 and 9:30. She didn't know exactly how many were fired, but it was less than 5. At 11:32, a thumb drive with over 600 photos and videos of Sylvie were inserted into Grant Amato's computer. This thumb drive would later be found by investigators in the pocket of his jeans in his car. At 11:39, Cody's iPhone was connected to Grant's computer, but the trusting process was not completed, suggesting that whoever had connected the phone didn't know the passcode. 3 minutes later, the phone was put in recovery mode. Based on everything else I examined, I believe the person was trying to wipe the phone. Blaze said at 12:08, Chad Amato's USAA banking app was accessed using his biometric fingerprint.
Oh.
Based on your training experience, are you aware of whether iPhones have been successfully unlocked with a deceased person's fingerprint? They asked her, and she said yes. His right index finger was less bloody than the others, suggesting that he first wiped it of blood and then he used it to open the banking app. At 2:45 a.m., Grant accessed Wi-Fi. At 3:06, he paid $599.99 to reopen his Cam Girls account.
Oh my gosh. All over porn.
Yeah.
And he also tried to stage the murder scene. So the guns. What he did is he made it look like Cody went in, shot both of his parents and then himself. That he even placed bullets around the scene to correspond with the number of shots for each victim. He then placed the gun holster on Chad's right side to make it look like there had been a confrontation between the two. The problem is it's a cross-draw holster, meaning that Chad, who was right hand, would have been wearing it on his left hip. Otherwise, he would have had to pull the gun out awkwardly and point it at himself and then change it to point at whoever he was firing at.
You know, one thing, the neighbors heard the gunshots. Please call the police if you hear gunshots.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah, they should have. They absolutely should have. Both Chad and Cody's bodies also appear to have been moved, which that surprised me. Neither gun at the scene was used in the crime scene. So here he puts these guns down,
Right.
but none of them were used. Not
And
the
moves it.
brightest bulb in the bunch.
After a suicide, bodies typically don't move.
Right. Investigators discovered that Blake Turpin, a longtime friend of Cody and Grant's, reported a missing 9mm Jericho handgun that was stolen from his closet in his bedroom. He didn't know how long it was gone because he barely used it. But 2 weeks before the shooting, Grant, Cody, and another friend were there hanging out playing video games. So Grant was there. At one point, Grant excused himself to use a restroom, and he knew where the guns were set. Or kept. He didn't physically see Grant take it, but the polygonal rifling at the crime scene matched Jericho gun rifling. And the gun was never recovered. They also found a letter that Grant had written to 6 online friends who were also part of Sylvie's chat room. It was written between January 4th and January 24th. And so remember, he left the rehab the 4th. He told his friends that everything he told them about his life was made up. He also expressed anger toward his family that they made him go to rehab, had spoken to Sylvie and told her the truth. He said that his father was controlling and abusive and that his mother was simply around for security. He says that his brother was also controlling and doesn't understand how I could care for someone as I cared for Sylvie.
Wow. Blaming all the victims.
Yep. And he said, seeing her so happy without me in her life is something I hope you guys never have to live through. It is a feeling that rips your heart out and makes me realize how pointless everything is without her.
Without her.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they really had nothing as far as defense. You know, they tried to pull the usual, well, they didn't look at other suspects deal.
Well, no.
You know, and it didn't happen.
Did they have her testify?
Sylvie? No. But I did find out a little something about why he might have gotten so attached.
Why?
Which is interesting. But let me finish this part. So after 8 hours of deliberation, the jury found him guilty of premeditated murder of his parents and brother. They sentenced him on August 12, 2019 to life without parole, partly due to the psychologist's opinion that he wouldn't pose a threat in prison and would be a model inmate.
8 hours.
I was just thinking that. Why so long?
Well, I mean, they
That's
did have
quick.
a lot of
That is
evidence
quick.
to go through.
I meant that. Why so short? Yeah.
Now, the prosecutor said his parents' and brothers' bodies aren't even cold, and he's already reestablishing or trying to reestablish contact with Sylvie. Leo said, noting Amato had his passport with him when he was found by police, he was just wanting for her to say, "I love you too. Come to Bulgaria and come to see me."
Wow.
Okay, so the antisocial personality disorder, aka psychopathy. I wanted to give some signs for our listeners because this is, one that I don't know if they would have seen the signs, if they would have done things differently, but this is from healthline.com, and it says that psychopathy can include behavior that conflicts with social norms. I would say spending $200,000 in 3 months would be that. Disregarding or violating the rights of others.
All right.
Inability to distinguish between right and wrong, which that one's a little bit scary for me because that could almost be a definition of insanity, yet he premeditated and he tried to cover it up so they couldn't get him off on that. Difficulty showing remorse or empathy, tendency to lie often, manipulating and hurting others, recurring problems with the law, general disregard towards safety and responsibility, expressing anger and arrogance on a regular basis.
Well, he fit it all.
Don't know about the anger and arrogance portion, but yeah, everything else. For sure.
He blamed everybody. He was
Well,
angry at everybody.
I would say
that was afterwards. Like, we don't know how the arrogance and anger up until that point.
Yeah, we don't know what he displayed at that, but we do know that he was angry and he was arrogant. I just don't think it showed until later. Now, they might have seen it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there's some behavior that you need to look for. Lack of deep emotional connections. They have a superficial charm about them. They can be very aggressive and they can get very angry sometimes.
That was just strange.
Wow, Siri
Okay.
interrupting. So I'm not sure, it sounds like to me, if a person is a psychopath and they hurt someone, they don't respond like a normal way.
Nope.
They don't say I'm sorry or anything like that. And it makes me wonder, if as kids, let's say that you've got a kid that already has signs of psychopathy, and let's say they accidentally hurt another kid. I would think the response would be that it was their fault.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have gotten my way, or
Yep.
they shouldn't have said that, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think you can maybe start seeing it early in a child where they just never, ever will take responsibility. They won't take discipline and, change their behavior. It's always everyone else's fault.
But sometimes if they don't know what to look for, you know what I mean? They don't dig into this like we do. They might think, oh, it's just a kid.
Oh, yeah. They absolutely
I mean,
would,
that's
probably.
just a kid.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that he started when he got older. But things could have been happening in the home.
I think that he was jacked
Yeah.
for a while,
Yeah.
actually. Because like I was saying, and it might have been the last episode, that it is a personality. It's not a mental illness.
Right.
It's how they are
Their
on the inside.
character. I use that
Yeah.
term loosely, yeah.
Yeah. They also said that they can be impulsive, abusive, and of course lack empathy. But the abuse doesn't necessarily mean violent. They say that it's more common in men than women. And then typically when you receive a diagnosis of this, you have to be at least 18 years old because some children will show signs of the disorder, but it's not necessarily an indicator that they're psychopathic.
Right.
It's a long-term condition that can, at times, improve with age. So they said that can definitely happen. And then their mortality rates are higher because of their behavior problems.
Yeah.
So the main signs I want people to hear is a disregard for others, lack of empathy, narcissism, and antisocial behavior.
That could change?
It can lessen as they age.
Really?
I think you can learn skills if you have difficulty in some of those areas. You can,
But if you're born that
adapt.
way, that's your personality.
yeah, but you can still learn, adapt, try to function
Absolutely.
properly.
I mean, when I look at my personality as a D, even a few years ago to today, it's different. So I think people can definitely learn things, but they have to be willing to.
Right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So here's what you do. Well, first of all, before we get into why they think he became so obsessed with her, here's some things that you need to know. They usually follow a 3-step process. They assess the utility, weakness, and defenses of those around them. So they look for any weak areas to get in. They manipulate others to bond with them and get what they want. So there's where the love bombing.
And the narcissism.
Yep. And then they abandon their targets and move on.
Yep.
Or they kill them
And
if
he
they're
did.
dysfunctional. So people just need to know that sometimes people are very bad. If you have a family member with this disorder, speaking with a therapist or counselor can help you get a more full understanding of the diagnosis, maybe even perhaps the severity of the family member, and then help you come up with a plan to keep you safe.
Right, yeah.
They can also help you think about past interactions with this individual and note if anything felt off or manipulative, and then try to keep track so that you can begin to identify when they're sneaking in those weak areas and they're trying to get you, and you can start looking for patterns and set up healthy boundaries. For some, you may have to have 0 or limited contact. Identify patterns in their behavior and note how it has impacted your life. Are you being manipulated in a certain way? Are you scared or worried about one of their behaviors? Is there a way to get yourself out of that particular set of interactions or out of the situation completely? Take note of interactions that don't feel right to you and prepare for future ones and what you can do better to protect yourself. And then, finally, prioritize protecting yourself and your children if you have any. That way you can be safe. Now, they did say that female psychopaths are different from men.
How?
I would think more manipulative.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, not just because, not because women are more manipulative, although they statistically may be, but I'm just thinking sex, finances. I feel like maybe there's more ways that they manipulate.
Than a man, yeah.
Okay, so on the cam model, I wanted to show you 2 more pictures.
Okay.
So you've got this one where she's beautiful, she's set up for this, and then she would also send him these. Okay, so this is her not all dressed up. This is just normal.
Everyday, normal.
They said
Completely different to me.
that she would sometimes be on their, cam things like that to make him think they had a legitimate relationship, so he would pay more money.
That's
So
horrible.
she could be a psychopath.
Oh.
Nobody else went into that house.
Who left your family like this? Tell us what happened, Grant.
No, I didn't do any of this.
They want to get it. It's that you would do.
It wasn't really my intention to continue talking to this woman, but it just kind of happened. And then because there was that emotional connection, I guess you could say, between her and me, I it felt like a relationship.
Is that interesting?
That's very interesting.
All right, so it's time.
All right.
Is someone like that, though, her especially, can't be prosecuted?
No.
I mean, because she sort of was...
First of all, she's in a different town, country.
State. I mean,
Yeah. But she's also, it's a business. I think it's pretty
What a
sorry
horrible-
what
Absolutely.
happened.
They do,
But,
yeah.
he's the one that had... I don't know if he had a mental illness, but I think he was... I believe his mom. He had low self-worth. And she was feeding
yeah, for
his
sure.
significance. And they were taking that away and he couldn't handle it.
She was 100% a narcissist.
All right.
Now I know them all. Do you want me to tell you?
No.
All right.
Be smart.
Be rude. Be rude.
And don't be a victim. Outline of a Murder is a Mr. Joseph production. What do you think, Joseph?